what's going on today? We are playing Ticket to Ride London, one of the newest Ticket to Ride factions that are coming out.
This is one of the newest ones, and it's the second one in the line of smaller Ticket to Ride games. So the first one was New York, and it introduces pretty much the same general experience as any other Ticket to Ride game, but in a much smaller package and with a much shorter play time. Each one does introduce some tiny little gameplay change, and in this one it's districts, so there are different districts of London, and if you can connect all of the locations in a particular district, you'll score some extra points. So for example, in this district right here, if I can connect Buckingham Palace, Big Ben, this square here, and Piccadilly Circus, if I can make a route that somehow touches all of these, then at the end of the game I'll get 2 extra points. So that's the only thing that's different about this particular version of Ticket to Ride. If you are not familiar with Ticket to Ride, the way that the game works is that we are attempting to gain points, and you can gain points in a couple different ways. The first is that we are going to be placing these little plastic buses. Usually they're trains, but this is London, so they're double-decker buses. You, on your turn, you place them along these routes, and when you do that, you get points for the length of the route that you place. So for example, this one is 4 trains long, so it's going to be worth 7 points. So that's one way that you can get points. Another way that you can get points is by completing route tickets that tell you 2 locations, and you are attempting to connect those locations with trains of your buses. So for example, this is the British Museum and Piccadilly Circus. So if I can somehow, it doesn't matter how circuitously I do it, if I can connect the British Museum and Piccadilly Circus by a contiguous line of my own plastic buses by the end of the game, then I will get this number of points. So I could just take this straight route right here. I could go straight from the British Museum to Piccadilly Circus, which is right here. So I'd only have to place 2 of my buses, and that would do it. And that would complete this ticket for me. Or I could like go a circuitous route and maybe connect other of my destination tickets in that sort of route as well.
And if you do that, sometimes you can pick up more tickets and get like, you don't have to go, use too many of your routes.
And there is a limited number of trains or buses in every game, so you do have to be sort of cognizant of how long your routes are and how many trains you actually have versus how many you're going to need to finish those routes, because you could just collect a bunch of tickets, but every one of them that you cannot collect will cost you this, or I'm sorry, cannot finish, will cost you this number of points at the end of the game. So I get this number of points if I complete the ticket, I lose it if I don't, and that's all of the ways to get points. You get points, like I said, when you place your plastic pieces on the board, and then at the end of the game for every ticket that you've completed. On your turn, the game is very simple. You can do one of 3 things. You can either draw new cards from over here. So these are cars. Typically they're trains, but this is, like I said, this is the London one. So you can draw new cards, and from here you can draw any 2 face-up cards that you want, or any card off the top of the deck. You get 2 cards. The only exception to that rule is that there are some wild cards in this deck, and if you take a wild card from the face-up offering, that's the only card that you get this turn. If you just happen to be lucky enough to draw it off the top of the deck, nobody has to know that, and you can draw another card. So you can either draw 2 of these cards here, or you can place trains on the board. And the way that you place trains on the board is that there are these routes here that have colored squares, and you need as many cards of that color as there are squares. So for example, to get from Buckingham Palace to Big Ben, I'd need 2 green cars. So if I had 2 green cards, I would discard them, and then I would place my 2 bus tokens here on the board. I would get the number of points for making a route of 2 trains, or buses in this case, and then I would have permanently for the rest of the game connected these 2 locations. So that's the second thing that I can do on my turn. The third thing that I can do is I can draw new route cards. If I have completed my routes already, or if I'm really close to completing one, or if my opponent has placed their pieces in such a way that I'm just not going to be able to complete one, and I want to, on my turn, instead of placing trains and discarding cards, or instead of drawing new cards, I can draw new ticket cards and try to get more routes that I can complete. That's pretty much the way that all the Ticket to Ride games work. In this one, like I said at the beginning of the video, there's that little extra scoring mechanism if you can connect the sort of districts. But other than that, that's this entire thing.
All right. Well, we'll come back mid-game and talk a little bit more about it. And then we'll come back and talk to you about who the winner is and who the loser is. Let's build some buses. Groovy. We're speeding with our buses through this game because it's really easy and really a fast-paced game, especially if you're a gaming hobbyist like ourselves.
Or a seasoned Ticket to Ride player.
True.
The regular box time on like a full-on game of Ticket to Ride is probably like 40 to 80 minutes maybe. And the box time in this is like probably like maybe 20 minutes. I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. So this one is a lot faster than like traditional Ticket to Ride. Let's see. 10 to 15 minutes. That's probably a little on the slow end, or a little on the fast end for me. I like to think about this game a little bit, but this one does play really, really fast.
Yeah.
And I actually really enjoy the smaller box versions of Ticket to Ride because I feel like you get pretty much the same experience as you would with playing like a larger version of Ticket.
Except Rails and Sails. That's
yeah, except that one.
That's insane.
That one's pretty different. But like any other Ticket to Ride version, I feel like it's fairly, you get kind of the same feeling, kind of the same experience, but in like a fraction of the time. So I kind of like the smaller box versions a little bit better just because you can kind of feel the same way, but you don't spend as much time on it, then you can play something else.
Yeah.
And I'm very pleased with the price that we got this copy for. I found it on Facebook Marketplace about 10 minutes from my home for $20 or $10.
What in the world?
$10.
$10.
So, and it was brand new. They had like opened it up and read the rules and decided it wasn't for them. And so even the cards were like still in shrink. So we got like a brand new copy for $10. I only had to drive about 20 minutes there and back to get it. And so I'm very, very pleased with that.
Awesome. All right, well, we'll come back to you guys once we have a decided winner and a decided loser. And yeah, we love it. And we'll talk to you guys in a sec. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi.
So we're at the end of the game of Ticket to Ride London.
Yeah.
And so how did we do?
I want to go home.
But you are home.
I have homesickness. I would like to leave this dreadful, rainy continent.
Ouch. But it wasn't...
I did okay, but I misstepped at the very, very end of the game. I had completed all my routes, but I was trying to connect some districts, because in this particular version of the game, you can get extra points if you connect all the districts. And I had enough buses to connect 2 different districts. One of them would have gotten me 4 points for the connection, and the other would have gotten me 2. And I focused on the 2 one first because this area was getting congested, and I didn't want to lose out on my opportunity to get those 2 points. And the 4 area was not congested, so I was like, okay, I could just come back to that. Well, while I was placing the pieces I needed to complete that district, Nick played his the pieces that would have triggered the end game. So then we each got 1 more turn, but I needed 2 more turns to complete the other district. So I should have done that one, but I was afraid that if I left this one alone, then it would get too congested and I would lose out on that.
FOMO.
Yeah, I figured out
missing
it
out.
was a net loss of 5 points by doing that instead of what I did previously.
But, it's a short game, so you can,
Even 5 points wouldn't have made up the difference, though. Nick was ahead of me by more than 5 points.
Yeah.
Would have made it closer, for sure, but not different, so.
Yeah, well, in the game, I drew another card that basically only needed 2 more trains, and then I was able to get everything I needed. So it was it's a fun little game. I like Ticket to Ride a lot, and in the fact that like it's kind of you're still thinking, but You get to play cards. It's kind of a simpler game, except you're playing Rails Rails and Sails. It's like we're taking Ticket to Ride Twilight Imperium style. Time to get wrecked.
It's not even really that much more complex than any other version of Ticket to Ride. It just takes way longer because it's a world map instead of a country map or like a located. Like they're all location maps, right? Like this one is the city of London. The other small box version is the city of New York. But they're typically a country or even a continent. Yeah, there's a Japan one that's most recently come out. There's Germany. There are several that are like continents. Like there's an African one. There's the European continent, I believe, is on a map. So sometimes it's continents. Other times it's a particular country or city. But it's always like location based, except the Rails and Sails, which is the full world map.
Yeah, we like it. It's a short version, easy to play with kids, or kind of a filler game, or like, a game after work, that kind of thing. So yeah, this is a one for the books. All right, this is, again, Ticket to Ride London. Woot woot. And we will talk to you guys later, so bye.